So today I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more, I think, about some of those things I've been working on as a writer. Guys, the Curious Owl here, and today I am doing the AuthorTube Newbie Tag. So this was created by Jenna Streety on YouTube, and it's a tag basically talking about like some of your works in progress and kind of just yourself as an author. And I consider myself an author because since I was about 10 years old, I've been writing stories and working on stories. I posted a video several months ago too of me reliving some of the first stories I remember writing when I was a kid and growing up into my high school years. So question 1 is, what's your book's pitch? If you have multiple works, choose your favorite. So I am in the course of working on 2 separate books. One is really though in the research phase still. I've been in the research phase of this for probably the last like 6 months or so. The one that is my favorite is my mystery novel, and I kind of briefly talked about a breakthrough that I had for that a few weeks ago in my last Newts vlog, where I was a little inebriated and I kind of had a breakthrough as far as something that I was having problems with. But the pitch of it is essentially that there is this guy that is essentially kidnapping all of these women, and he is killing off their male associates, whether they are their husbands, brothers, fathers, friends, cousins, some man associated with them. All of these women are kidnapped, nobody knows where they are, and essentially the main character, in my opinion, Mara, who is an FBI detective, is trying to find out who this guy is, where he's taken these women, and the novel is split up between their perspectives, Mara's and the bad guys, and there also is the perspective of one of the victims who was kidnapped, and kind of getting the victim's perspective of the whole thing, because she realizes that the bad guy might not be as bad as he seems, because there's something obviously wrong with him, but they don't quite know what it is at this point. And the whole story is really like learning about him and understanding him, and just really how, especially how trauma can affect someone in their life, and how it has major after effects if it is not recognized and if it is not taken care of at a very early point in time. Like, the whole story is essentially focused around trauma and how different people who experience trauma can react to it, and it's really just focusing on that aspect. I can't really tell you guys though exactly what the genre is. I know it's adult, but it kind of airs on contemporary mystery thriller, but there's not really like a lot of thriller like scenes where they're very heart-pounding. The whole thing of the story is really kind of just understanding this bad guy. So it's kind of more of like just a general fiction story at this point. Question 2 is, if you were a book, how would you pitch yourself? Oh God. I don't think the best about myself, so that's gonna be really difficult. I guess I would pitch myself as creative, and yeah, I think that's all I got. I'm not the best when it comes to talking about myself in a positive manner. Question 3 is, what do you usually write? I don't have a particular genre that I usually write in, because I kind of gain inspiration from a lot of different places. My adult mystery thriller, contemporary, whatever you want to call it, novel was a lot of ways inspired by James Patterson's Alex Cross series, because I really liked the way that he built his bad guys as, like, you know, very complicated, complex individuals. And I also really liked his shorter chapters growing up a lot when I was reading like his Maximum Ride series. Question 4 is, what's something you'll never write? I really have no idea. I don't like the idea of saying that I'll never write something, because I have no idea what I will never write. I feel like that's kind of a really weird question to ask, because if you're a writer, you should be able to, like, not necessarily write on anything, but be open to writing about a lot of different things. So I guess I'll say I'll never write nothing. That's a really weird way to say that. Question 5 is, what's your goal for starting an AuthorTube channel? So I'm not really necessarily starting an AuthorTube channel, but I do think I want to incorporate more on this channel about my writing, because it is a huge influence from my reading. And I feel like what I want as a goal is really just to do that, to put out more content about my progress with my writing. I'm thinking that in the future I might do some writing vlogs where I talk more about especially the first novel I've been working on, which has been my mystery, thriller, contemporary, whatever the hell you want to call it, but I'm gonna call it my Mara story because that's kind of the main character is Mara. Question 6 is, what made you want to start writing? I really don't know. I just feel like ever since I was a little kid, I always really liked the idea of coming up with stories and writing them down. I don't think it was necessarily any kind of catalyst that got me started with it. The earliest thing I remember with writing is that I was probably in like the 5th grade, and every day we were expected to write something. Like we were writing for like, I think 30 minutes every day in the morning, and we all had these journals that we would write in. And every day somebody would take something either they wrote that day or had written before that they wanted to share. If anything, I think that was really what kind of set it off for me, but I don't know necessarily what got me started with thinking about even continuing to write in the first place. Like, I just felt like I always had this ability to write and always wanted to come up with these stories and stuff like that. Question 7 is, what's your publishing path? Self-published, traditional published, hybrid, haven't decided yet, or just write for fun? Right now, it is just writing for fun. I don't have many goals when it comes to putting out anything because I'm still way too early in my processes of both of my books to really say that I'm going to publish them at all. But I think if I was to pick a publishing path, I probably would do a traditional publish, because I think that there is a market for the kind of book that I want, and I have been doing my research on writing agents and stuff like that and publishing companies that I think might work for me, but I haven't really set anything in stone because, again, it's still way too early for me to really feel comfortable with even sending something off. It's way too early for me with this first book I've been working on to even think about putting it out to an agent, because there's so much that still needs to be done with it before I feel fully comfortable with getting it out to somebody. Question 8 is, what content do you bring to the AuthorTube table? I think really it's not any different than anyone else in AuthorTube brings to the table, because I just want to share my process of writing. I want to share with you guys my story of my writing and kind of just building on it as I go and getting, tips from you guys and stuff like that. Like, I don't feel like it's really any different from what other people on AuthorTube do. Question 9 is, what's your biggest writing struggle? Right now, my biggest writing struggle is honestly finding the time to write, because I work a 40-hour-a-week job full-time. I come home, I'm usually really exhausted, and especially recently I've been dealing with some mental health issues that have been really affecting how I even do things that I enjoy, which part of it was writing. So I'm really just having not so much writer's block, but a time block. Like, I'm having a hard time finding the time to sit and write. But today, actually, I did go through a couple chapters and made notes for edits to incorporate in the second draft, so that was really nice, and I think later today I'm gonna sit and actually work on those chapters a little bit. Question 10 is, what's your best writing skill? I think my best writing skill is honestly the outlining. I feel like I have the best time working on stories when I work with, when I make my outline. When it comes to actually writing it, a lot of times I feel like it's less good, because I feel like I keep missing some of the bigger parts that I really want to incorporate with from the outline. So, like, for instance, when I started working on my Mara book, I originally had outlined it pretty much completely. Like, I had outlined every single chapter how I wanted the story, and it was really, really good. Like, it was really detailed. But then I started writing it, and then I was realizing that the outline necessarily wasn't going to match what I felt like the story really needed. But I still feel like the best writing skill I have is being able to fully flesh out a story in just the outline, and then from there kind of just filling in with the prose and the dialogue. Like, I feel like that's one of the better qualities I have when it comes to writing. So then for questions 11 and 12, you get to pick. So question 11 is, if you've been on YouTube for a while, what's your best AuthorTube tip? Or if you're new to AuthorTube, what is your biggest AuthorTube question? Well, since I'm kind of newer to AuthorTube, I think I'll go with what is my biggest question, which I think is really just, how do people find the time to write? How do they find the time with, having a full-time job and sometimes having kids or something like that? Like, how do they find the time to write? Because I just have such a hard time doing it. I don't have children of my own, but I have such a hard time even finding time for myself to do the things I love to do, like write, that it's just really, really difficult for me. So I'd love to know how people on AuthorTube find the time to do these things, because it seems impossible for me. Question 13 is, are you looking for any new channels to follow, betas, CPs, or other types of writer buddies? If so, tell us who you're looking for and connect with them in the comments. I guess really I would like to connect with people that would be interested in being beta readers, because I have a small group of people that either have known about the story for years or have read versions of it in the past that I can pull for, but I don't have all of them on Facebook or anything, or any other social media that I can readily access them if need be. So I would really like to find some beta readers if I can. And the last question is, what are you most excited for during this new fresh start on AuthorTube? I am just really excited to share more of my writing process and almost kind of have a reason to get back to writing. I think it's not going to happen for the next several weeks though, because like I said, I have to kind of get some things in order up here specifically before I can figure out how often I'm going to be writing. But I do think that working with the writing vlogs will give me a really good chance to just work on something for myself and have fun with it, and then also get some really good feedback in the future on what I'm working on. So there you guys go. Those are all the questions for the AuthorTube tag, the AuthorTube Newbie Tag. And if you would like to do this tag yourselves, please feel free to. I don't really tag people in these videos because I don't know who has done this tag, nor do I know of anyone who specifically would want to be tagged in this. So I just leave it open to anyone that wants to do it. But I will leave the original video in the description as well as the questions for you guys. And if you guys did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you're not already and you'd like to be, hit the button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys!